speaking here today. I know a little bit about their story, but today they're going to share their stories with you. They're going to share in a transparent way. They're going to share in a bold way. Everyone that takes part in the showcase today is going to leave here feeling better, feeling better. This, the author's journey is an important journey, and you're going to learn a lot about their story today. Now, my name is Kl McNeill, and I am one half of the Empowerment Duo. The Empowerment Duo is a duo that I have with my wife. Her name is Lisa Santiago McNeill. She'll be up here a little bit later, but we're going to get this thing started right away with our author, our first author. Now, our first author, she's going to have a chance to introduce herself however she likes. However, I'm going to take this much about it, too. Do you know how long you get to speak?
I think 5 to 7.
Yeah, good, because we okay, good. All right, good. I met her, I guess, maybe a year and a half ago. I would say I met her when my wife started publishing her books. And her books had what I call wow factor. They were talking about real things, tough stories that people don't talk about most of the time. And then I got to know her personally as a friend, and I found her to be fun and funny and loving. And I found out that she can cook too. Okay, because my wife and I ate lots of her food over the past year. But I consider her a friend. Her name is Reecie Gaddy. She's coming to the stage right now. Y'all help me bring up Miss Reecie.
My parents made me, but the streets raised me. I'm a product of pain and persistence to these streets that have me bound. The streets are hard and rough, just waiting to devour us. If I had my way, I would get the hell out of Charlotte today. Charlotte has a way of turning people cold. It's like the streets snatch their soul. I've been in these streets for 30 years. I bleed blood and sweat tears for all the years and friends I've lost. I can't bring back any of my friends that are dead, but their memories are instilled in my head. I can't forget the past, and the future is hard to see. It's like I have blinders on me. No one really knows how deep my pain runs. So deep, sometimes I want to sleep and never awake to these fake-ass people surrounding me. Time after time, I wish I could rewind my life. I would have settled down and became somebody's wife, but that's not the story of my life. I've lost time, energy, family, friends, and money. I feel like a crash dummy. I gave the streets the best of me. Now God's using what's left of me. Yeah, once again, my name is Reecie Gaddy, and I'm a native of Charlotte, North Carolina. I have 3 daughters and 9 grandchildren, 7 boys and 2 girls. Now, some of you may have always wanted to be a writer. In my case, that wasn't so. I have been praying and fasting, talking to God, seeking on what direction my life should go in, because I didn't know. My youngest daughter at the time was 14, and she came and she said, "Mom, is there anything I can ever do to make you stop loving me?" I looked at her and I said, "No, why would you ask me that?" And then I turned my head and I looked back at her and I said, "You're pregnant." And she dropped her head crying. And for me, it was worse than hearing that somebody had died. So I said, "God, every time I make 10 steps forward, it's like I'm getting knocked 50 steps back." So over in the morning, I heard the Spirit of the Lord say, "Your life is going to be an open book, and you're going to be the one to tell it." I said, "God, how do I write a book? I haven't read a book since middle school, high school. I haven't even finished school. So I'm politicking with God all the reasons why I couldn't write this book. Because some things you don't want to tell nobody. But God had to deal with me. He said it wasn't for you. It's for somebody else. Some of the things you went through, it was for somebody else." So I told my family, I said, "God told me to write a book. God told me to write a book." They thought I was crazy. So they started throwing me in mental health. 5 years in and out of mental health, being strapped down to beds. They'll shoot me up with Howl Dog and Invader. And sometimes I couldn't speak openly. I was thinking to myself, "Lord, let me get back to myself. Let me get back to myself. How did I end up here? I asked you to order my steps." He said, "You asked me to order your steps, but you can't tell me where to send you. Wow. What they meant for your bad, I'm going to turn around for your good." Yeah. So I found out by being obedient to God, by writing my first book, that other books were in me that I didn't even know. So I wrote my first book. Took me 5 years to write. Because, like I said, stuff in it I didn't want to tell nobody. Rape, molestation, abusive relationships, not knowing who I was, sleeping with this man and that man because I was looking for love. So that is my story. But that's not the end of my story. That's just a part of my story. A part of my story. So by me being obedient to God, other books start coming out. And one book, and then another book, and then poems. And I'm like, God, I didn't know who I was. I would tell other people, I'm so proud of you. You're great. You're awesome. But I didn't see that in myself. I didn't know that I had the type of anointing that I carry. And I realized that I went through hell because heaven has to come through. It has to reach somebody. So somebody has to go through it so you can tell somebody else how to come out of it. But I'm here today to tell you to keep moving. It don't matter what it looks like because God is always in the midst. It don't matter. And and people can talk about you and lie on you, but it don't matter what man says. It matters what God says. That's the only thing that matters is what God says. And I wrote this poem last night. Why not me? I've struggled day after day, week after week, month after month, and year after year. Yet, I'm still here. So why not me? I've been betrayed time and time again, not only by family, but so-called friends. Yet, I must endure to the end. So why not me? I've been labeled crazy and thrown in and out of mental health. They tried to pick my mind, not knowing that my knowledge was worth more than wealth. So why not me? I've been lied on and mistreated. Not just once, it was constantly repeated. And even though it had me sick, I wasn't defeated. So why not me? Things will be done in this life, some wrong and some right. However, you must never lose sight of the rainbow at the end of the road. Even though before you get there, some days may be lonely and cold. I titled this poem, Why Not Me? I could have titled it, Why Not You? Because I'm not the only one on this road. You're on this road too. So whatever you do, drive your own car and keep a tight grip on the wheel. And you may never forget what they did, but you have to forgive. That's the only way you'll be able to heal.
Oh.
Did y'all not enjoy Reecie Gaddy?
Yes.
First thing I want to ask you, Reecie, is from the first time you wrote a book, the journey from the first time you started to write a book, they told you was crazy. And now all these books later, and telling that story in front of this audience, is there a difference in you?
Yes, there is. I'm free now. It's like once I started writing, it released the things that God wanted to release in me, that the devil had me bound. Like if you tell this, they're going to judge you. I found out they're going to judge you anyway. So why not tell the truth and set yourself free?
Reecie Gaddy, y'all. Thank you, my sister. That was beautiful. Did I not tell you she was going to be transparent? Did I not tell you she was going to set the stage? Okay, thank you again, Reecie. Is the audio okay without the mic? Or should I use the mic?
You can go without the mic, but
Well, I want for the recording's sake. So if the recording can hear me well without the mic, I'm going to go without. Okay? So up next, without further ado, I'm going to keep this thing going. I really, really appreciate Reecie. And Reecie was amazing, but our amazing don't stop with her. We got another amazing person coming. Now, this is another woman that I met. I'm going to say I met her 5 years ago, I think. Maybe 7 years ago, 5 to 7 years ago, I met her. And I knew she was a fun lady because I'd seen her at a party. And I'd seen her at a party get her dance on. Okay. Have you ever heard the expression that you don't look like what you have been through?
Yes.
This lady that we're about to bring to the platform is that, because she does not look like what she's been through. She is one of the people that you want to be around because she's everybody's friend. Okay, everybody wants to hang out with her. She's everybody's friend. She's fun to be around, and she's got something to say. Not only did she go through some things, but she learned from those things, and she's made it her ministry to share what she's learned through her experiences. I've had a chance to sit down with her formally and talk to her about it, and I can't wait to share her with you. Her name is Michelle Dewitt. Please help me welcome Michelle Dewitt to the stage.
Well, how many people love the Cosby Show? I love the Cosby Show. I love the Cosby Show because of the family relation. I love how the Cosby Show comes together. They get to talk about their situations, what's happening in the home. We all always had something going on. Vanessa had something. Then there's that little Rudy.
That's right.
There's Rudy. She's growing up and she's watching her big brothers and big sisters, and she wants to be big too. And don't forget about Miss Olivia. Miss Olivia. Don't forget about her because she was a part of the home as well. I love the Cosby Show. I enjoyed Thursday night, 8 o'clock, shut it down. Because the Cosby Show was coming on.
Okay.
But that wasn't my house. That was the Cosby Show. It was already staged. It was already set. But in my house, it was a little different. In my house, we had a little bit of abuse, physical and verbal abuse going on. I grew up with 4 brothers. I'm the only girl my mother had. In my house, there was a little bit of fear going on because of so much verbal abuse. You didn't want to share like it was on the Cosby Show, but I always thought about it. And if my family was like this, and if my family was like that, how great my family would be if I could talk to my dad or if I could talk to my mom. I couldn't because of so much turmoil in the house. You do what you're told. You do it immediately, okay? We're not going to walk around slow and stomping our feet. You're going to get it done. Not only are you going to get it done, you're not going to go out this house and tell your business. Right. What's in this house stays in this house. Okay? That's what we all knew, right? Okay. One of the things that I want to share with you are some statistics. Did you know, according to the Sexual Violence Rescue Center, 1 in 5 women and 1 in 16 men have been sexually assaulted during their college years? Wow. 1 in 5 women, 1 in 16 men during college years. Did you know that around 89,000 cases of rape are reported annually? And those cases, only 7.2% occurred at parties. That's a high number.
Yes, it is.
Just think about how high that is. That's only at parties. This is not talking about an individual situation. This is just parties. Now, in the individual situation, some people report it and some people don't. They don't report it because of the fear. They don't report it because of the shame. They don't report it because of maybe the guilt. I didn't report it when it happened to me. I didn't report it because of all of those things that I listed. I did not report it. It happened to me starting at age 3, and it continued through age 14. I didn't want to tell anyone the story because I knew that what was in the house had to stay in the house. And how could I go and tell my dad that his brothers are touching me and molesting me? How can I tell my mom that my uncle has raped me? That's my mother, and I'm her only child. I'm her only girl. I don't want to do that. So I waited for a very long time to tell my story. I hated to tell that story because I knew the end result and what it would be. It would be shame. because now I'm this girl that's not a part of the Huxtable family, but now I'm looked at differently. My family has shunned me away because I told them. I hated it. I didn't want to tell them. But do you know, according to the Natural Institute of Justice, approximately 90% of sexual assaults are reported is committed by someone that they knew. 90% of those sexual assaults are committed by someone that they knew. Once I was able to share my story, just like this young lady, I was set free.
Yes.
I was no longer looked at as a person being ashamed. Once I started writing my book, I've been there. There were times in that book where I said, I just don't want to do this. But I shared the story because somebody needs to hear in my book that you can be an overcomer and that you have the victory.
Yes.
Somebody needed to know that I don't look like what I've been through.
That's right. That's right.
I am a young, proud Black woman. Not only that, I have my own nonprofit corporation.
That's right.
And in my nonprofit corporation, it's called Unbreakable Faith because, baby, you didn't break me.
Come on. That's right.
That's right. I'm not broken, and I am totally healed because now I want to grab someone else and take them along with me. I want you to come with me. We have a mentorship program that we want to encourage young people and young adults to come along. Don't you dare be afraid. Don't you dare be ashamed. Don't put your head down. Hold your head up proudly because you have a story to tell.
This is her book, Unbreakable Faith.
Yes.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Did y'all get blessed?
Yes.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. I want to talk to you about the woman that you became from the time that you just started to tell you, decided to tell your story, and actually published your story, and actually giving talks about your story. Is there a difference in that woman?
There's a big difference. There was a woman that was very shy and timid, and now during the process of writing the book, I'm no longer that way. If you talk to me one-on-one, I'm willing to just go deep dive in. There's so much more that I would love to share, but it's in the book.
Thank you very much. So far, you've heard their voice, but I brought some friends along. And next on the mic is my man Brad. Now let me tell you about Mr. Brad Wilder. Okay. Only a few of you guys were able to follow that flow because that was 80s rap. That was 80s rap. This is the author showcase. I do this with my wife, Lisa Santiago McNeill. We've heard from two amazing women so far, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the showcase. Up next, we have a young man. His name is Brad Wilder. Now, he's a young man, and he's written 3 books. And why did this young man write 3 books? Because God put it on his heart to tell these 3 separate stories, to tell these 3 separate messages. I will tell you, putting on an event like this, there's a lot of details that have to get done ahead of time, okay? I want to let you know I personally appreciate Brad because he followed up. He made more phone calls than anybody else to get him here, okay? Actually, I think he had the furthest drive to get here as well. So he drove the furthest. He made sure this was that was this. He crossed all his T's and dotted all his I's to make sure that he showed up in this place for you the right way.
Right.
He had friends come with him, people that know him and love him and wanted to be here to support him. He's the kind of guy that you never want to lose track of. I don't want to ever lose track of him because he's going some places. Please help me bring to the platform Mr. Brad Wilder.
Thank you, Mr. McNeill, for the introduction. I'm gonna get straight to it. Show of hands, how many of you have heard the phrase, when life throws you lemon, make lemonade? Right, raise them high. How many of you believe that? Y'all believe that? Now, I'm not here to change anybody's mind. So whatever you believe, y'all believe, but I am here to allow you to see from a different perspective. So I need 2 volunteers. Anybody?
Since you're sitting right up front. Go.
Stay your seat.
Okay.
Give me this. Who else? I need 1 more volunteer.
Right there in front of that shirt.
Yes, sir. Now, y'all told me that you believe the phrase, when life gives you lemon, make lemonade. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to take that lemon and squeeze it all over yourself. Now I want you to take this lemon, hold it above your eye, and drop the lemon juice in your eye.
She's doing it.
Don't think about it, just do it. You trust me, right? Just drop it in your eye. Go ahead.
Do it.
Okay, that's enough. Take the lemon. Wait a second. Take the lemon and squeeze it in your eye. No. I'm not asking you, will it burn? I'm asking you to squeeze it in your eye. Because you did say, right, that when life gives you lemon, make lemonade. But why would you squeeze the lemon?
Because my eye is not part of the ingredients of lemonade.
So, may I propose to you, maybe it's not the fact when life gives you lemon, make lemonade, but you should probably ask yourself, is the lemon worth the squeeze? How many of you have been in situations where you know you should not have made that decision, but the first thing you do was say, God, why did you let me do this when God had nothing to do with your free will that you did? Just like you recognize that the lemon was going to burn your eyes, right? You realize that lemon could have hurt you, right? How many people in this room right now are waiting on something, and you get so impatient with waiting on God that you say, oh, I'm going to take this lemon, I'm going to squeeze it, even though I know this was not my situation, I'm going to take this lemon and squeeze it anyway. But some of you just said, and I said, I'm not here to change your mind. I am here to help you think differently. And you're here killing this lemon. So the lemon was to squeeze, obviously. So you chose not to squeeze it on yourself because it would burn. How many times have you been in situations that you knew you shouldn't be in because you wanted to squeeze that lemon? Somebody in this room right now, are going through a sour situation, but you don't even realize that's not supposed to break you, but simply make you.
That's right.
See, what some of you don't understand is the lemon is sour enough to change you, but sweet enough to transform you. Some of you get so impatient with the lemon type of situation that you don't realize that if you just be patient, dance in the rain a little bit, God will give you that sugar so that you can make that lemonade. So I brought this, and I wrote this book. One day I was sitting in my room, I said, we hear the phrase all the time, when life throws you lemon, make lemonade. But who said that lemon was supposed to be for you? How many times when God said, Proverbs 18-16, a man's gift maketh room for him and brings him before great men? How many times are you operating in somebody else's gift and wonder why it didn't work? Why? Because the lemon wasn't yours. You were trying to make lemonade off of something that didn't have your name.
Right.
And I know there's somebody here right now going through depression. Y'all facing some things with some finances. Some of you may be facing addiction. Some of you may be going through some stuff that you're not telling nobody. And you stuck in this sour situation. And you're like, well, God, I want to get out of this. God, I want to be done with this situation. God, I don't know where I'm at. And God is telling you, hey, it's sour right now, but I got something. If you just stay right here, that can make something sweet. So the lemon worth the squeeze is why I wrote this book. I wrote this book for that mother that's struggling with telling the story that she's been raped. I wrote this book for somebody that's facing anxiety. I wrote that book for somebody who's been molested. I wrote for that little girl that don't have nobody to go home to. I wrote this book to tell a story for that person that's stuck and wondering why they got to leave their friends. I wrote this book for the people who are wondering, why am I where I am? God, I'm trying to pursue you. God, I'm trying to hear your voice clearly, but everybody else is talking. God, why am I being isolated in this place where I had to walk away from what was comfortable with me? And God is saying to you, hey, it's not about the lemon. It's about waiting for me to tell you when it's sweet. It's not the fact that I'm breaking you, but I had to isolate you because if I didn't, you would not hear my voice clearly.
Yes.
And there's somebody in this room right now, and you're having to walk away from people, and it hurts. It's hurting you, it's breaking you. And some of you don't even realize it's making you. So it's not about, well, life gives you lemon, make lemonade. But ask yourself, is lemon what you squeeze in the first place?
Is the lemon worth the squeeze? Okay. Now, I hope it's not too personal. Would you mind sharing how old you are?
Well, on the 13th, I just turned 25.
On the 13th, you turned 25 years old. Think back when you were 25. Now, this young man at age 25 has written 3 books. If you would please share about all 3 books. Tell us about them.
So the first book is The Boy Who Dared to Dream.
The Boy Who Dared to Dream. Okay.
So that's talking to our young men about Proverbs 18 and 16. I mean, it's make room for him and bring him before great men. I wrote that book because my dad is 63 years old. I'm one of 12 kids. Mom and dad have been married almost 50 years. And so I wrote that book because I just watched my dad. He's still at 63. He's still working. And I looked at my dad and I said, I never want to be that person that has to choose money over presence. I have a son, my wife back there. I have a son, right? He's on he'll be here in August. I don't want my son to look around. I don't want my son to look around and wonder where his father is. Kids don't understand money. They understand presence. So I look at my father and I'm like, why is it that the older generation teaches our kids work? And God says, hey, yes, faith without works is dead. But he also talks about a gift. Why are we not hearing more about the gift that can make room?
All right.
Where it's breaking ourselves down.
Bring it.
So I spoke to our young man and said, hey, let me open up your eyes at a younger age. Because if you're going to absorb something like a sponge anyway, why not give him something good? Why
Now,
not teach us?
I'm gonna get you to the second book,
Yes, sir.
a shorter version. Come on, second book.
Yes, sir. So the Warrior Princess.
The Warrior Princess.
Speaking to our young women about the importance of having standards, know who they are, even if the man that you want to pursue yourself, if you want to chase, if this man is not to your level, he can't touch you anyway.
No.
When I go to so many schools and I tell our young women, hey, you, the way you dress, the way you carry yourself, the way you speak, you teach people how to respect you without saying a word.
That's
I
right.
want to tell our young women that even if you got to be by yourself either.
That's
It's not about what he says to you, but what God says to you.
Thank you very much, sir.
right.
Brad Wilder. Did Brad bring it? Did Brad bring it? I am so excited that Brad did bring it.
Yep.
I'm also equally excited about Brad's support system being here for him. It means a lot. You know, we all do better when we got our support in the room with us. You know, it means a lot. Thank you for his support system that chose to show up on his behalf. That means something. Everyone who chose to be here in support of somebody, it means something. Okay. Now we're going to have a little bit of a commercial break from the authors because we have a young lady that I haven't even met, but I know her parents. Okay.
Future author.
She's a future author, but she's a current poet. Okay. So, future author, current poet. I know her parents as industrious. I know her parents as very smart business people. And I'm coming up here right now, okay? So, I'm going to give you the opportunity to do 2 things. Come on up, okay? I want you to do 2 things. First, I want you to introduce yourself to this audience, however you like. And then I want you to share one of your poems, okay? You ready?
Hi everyone, my name is Maya Davis.
Maya Davis.
I'm 17 years old and I go to Myers Park High School. I like poetry, I love writing. I've loved writing since I was a little girl. It's always been an outlet for me for uncomfortable situations. And, you know, I feel like writing is important to every young kid. I feel like, you know, in this day and age when social media, there's so many distractions out there, it's hard for the new generation to channel what's inside of us. And I feel like writing is the best and most positive outlet, especially for me. So, I want to share with you today some poetry that I've written. This one, I titled it March 1st because March is the beginning of spring, new beginnings.
All right.
Don't talk about it, don't write about it, don't refer to it by any means. Don't let your vision be deterred by it as it walks past you. Hold your breath and count to 3 to avoid its flow of deception. You see, this is all to distract you. All a ploy to guide you into her trap. She'll welcome you with open arms, wrapping her slender fingers around your unsuspecting neck, squeezing gently, sweetly coaxing your breaths into slumber. You'll be too enamored with her features to be cautious, the way her lips swirl and melt into laughter, too infatuated with how her eyes crinkled and eyelashes fluttered like monarchs to notice how her torso is open, veins and inner workings engulfing. Do not talk about her. Do not write about her. Do not refer to her by any means. Do not allow her skin to come in contact with yours, for she only knows how damning she is until she's had all of you. Her voice rapid like waterfalls, replenishing you with what you've never known had been parched. You feel whole, but only because she has instilled herself in you. Your heart beats with hers, your breath would sync with hers, and you become her. And in a way, you've never needed anything else. She dances in your dreams, twirls in your reality, and slumbers in your fantasy. She needs you. She needs you to find her. She needs your presence, and she wants your attention, until she doesn't. Until you feel her body reject yours, until her ribs constrict from your body, until her rivers run dry, until she floats away into distant sunsets, until you're alone. Until it's your turn to wrap your fingers around her delicate neck, yet your hold isn't so comforting and her light isn't so bright. Until her fights become dormant and her body runs frigid. Do not talk about her, do not write about her, do not refer to her, for she no longer exists.
Wow. When I was 17 years old, I was just as deep as her. No, I wasn't. What inspired you to write poetry?
Just feeling emotions, and not really knowing how to express that outwardly. I have a lot of issues with kind of telling people how I feel and not feeling and validating myself inside. So writing it and taking myself out of my own experiences really helps me.
Wow.
You feel different right now after having said the poem publicly.
Yes.
What's the difference?
Saying things out loud and to a group of people that you feel that can relate to you helps you let go of situations that you didn't feel like you could let go before because it's your own and you feel like it's all internalized. So letting that out really helps you let go of it.
Wow, Maya Davis, y'all. This is an author's showcase. Authors means they did what? They wrote a book, okay? And all these books here are for sale, but they're also part of ministry, okay? So I'm going to give each one of the authors that have a book a minute to talk about their book. I'm going to start off with Mr. Kelly Little. If you would, Kelly, could you come to the platform and with your book? Oh, wow. You busy talking something?
No, I'm tired running up and down the steps.
I'm signaling you. Okay, this is my friend. This is my brother, Mr. Kelly Little. And please talk a minute about your book, because he hasn't yet given you his showcase, but he will shortly. Okay?
So, I guess real quick, my book, I don't know which one. I'm going to use The King's Journey to Transformation. It essentially is a book that says we can accomplish whatever we need to accomplish as long as we understand our race is not with anybody else, but with ourselves. So the first chapter speaks to every woman that played an integral part in my life. And there's been many of them in my 51 years. Some of them came at times when I was very young, and that male influence wasn't there. And so like my sister who spoke earlier about how Charlotte was a struggle, I grew up in the inner city streets of Philadelphia and faced some of the same struggles. So I could have been a statistic, but the book goes on to talk about how them cultivating me, and then how sowing seeds and working with young people and finding out who I am and using that affirmation I am has propelled me. And even when I thought I had arrived, I really didn't arrive, because there were so many other things that were obstacles that I had to turn into opportunities. So it's reflection, introspection, and perspective. And so that's the book.
All right.
Now, when he first got up here, I caught him off guard. When he first got up here, he said, which one of my books did he decide on this one? Just name the titles of your other books.
Okay, the other one, They Lit the Way, which is a superhero book for our young boys and girls, particularly of color, so that they understand that there are superheroes in every corner of our community, and it shifts the narrative so we can elevate and expect nothing in return.
All right, thank you.
Right.
Has anyone here ever experienced the joy of canceling plans? The joy of not showing up to stuff. It's almost the most fun thing. Matter of fact, choosing not to show up is 100% easier than actually showing up.
Yes.
How much fun is it to show up? Not to show up. But I will tell you, most of life riches happens by just showing up.
Yes.
Even if you have to overcome an obstacle, if you just show up, you're more than halfway won. Most of life's victories happen just because of you showed up. There might be someone in the audience that got a job because they was the only one that showed up. There might be someone that had earned some money because no one else was there to get it. Okay? But you. I honor people that show up to stuff, even especially if they had to overcome something to get there. Brad drove a long way to get here. Okay? This next brother here, and I count him as my brother. His name is Sundiata Sims. He wrote an amazing book called Manhood. And he's going to take his minute to talk about his book. You want to do it from there, or do you want to come here? All right, come on, brother. Help me welcome to the platform, Mr. Sundiata. Strong men that help you, brother. That's what we do. That's what we do. All right. Praise God, from whom all blessings flow. Santiago Sims. Yep. You can do it wherever you are now.
Let me just start out. When I wrote the book, I wasn't on this. I wrote this book kind of for you. It took me about 4 years. All right. And what it started out is just simply a love letter to my father. A lot of us didn't grow up with fathers, but I am lucky I did. And when I started writing this, I promise you, I didn't see a book. I just thought, hey, I'm putting to work. You know, then the next thing I know, I got a book. But what it is simply a journey. It's my journey from that thing called boyhood to manhood. Because here's the problem. When we were on the African continent, they had different rituals. They had different practices that brought you from boyhood to manhood. But here, we never going to find what it is, let alone how to get there. So all I did in this simple book, to make it quick, I showed you my journey. I showed you the steps of the individuals that helped me get there. And all I hope to do with this book, if I don't sell not one, but I do get someone to read it, I hope they find themselves as a man. That's simply all I want. Thank you.
Thank you. And the name of the book is Manhood by Sundiata Sims. Thank you, sir.
All right.
All right.
All right. Anybody having a good time here?
Yes.
I said in our intro to today that the author showcase is always the most inspirational and uplifting event that you attend. And has that been the case already for anybody?
Yes.
Dr. Debra Dunston, if you would please come and talk a minute about your book. Good afternoon.
Well, do you know how? Can I have that copy over there? Thank you. Do you know how sometimes people can go through something in their life that totally just shake them? That hurts so deeply, it actually causes your world to shift. Well, this book here, Getting Free and Staying Free from Toxic Anger, Fear, Shame, and Unforgiveness, I wrote this book because I went through something like that, and it totally shifted my life.
But what this book is, it's not only a book of my story, a journey to healing, but it's also a roadmap to lead others along the way to their place called freedom. Because you too, no matter what you've been through, you too can get free, and then you can also stay free.
Amen. Amen. Getting Free and Staying Free by Dr. Debra R. Dunston. Getting Free and Staying Free. Give her a hand, please. All right. Timekeeper, MC. Anybody else get my picture while I was up here? That'd be kind of cool to have. I didn't take it, so I want one. Anyway. Just Reecie, please. Could you come on back and talk a minute about your books, about what they are, and name them again, please? All right, Reecie Gaddy.
My first books are called If Walls Could Talk. And If Walls Could Talk is basically my journey. And I didn't even realize I was on a journey. I was just existing. I was not living. So this book talks about molestation. It talks about rape. It talks about family. It talks about the church. It talks about a lot of things that we deal with on a day-to-day basis that a lot of people don't want to talk about. You know, those hard conversations, but we have to have them. Yeah. And also, this book is to let young women know that forgive yourself. Right. You didn't do anything wrong. Forgive yourself. When you've been violated, it wasn't you. You have to forgive them so you can be free. Because you are going to be bound up and these people going on with their life. But you're still stuck because you can't let it go. And I've learned to let it go. So that's what this book is about, forgiveness. And I didn't get it right the first time. If you read my books, I kept messing up. But God has been gracious and forgiving. And he's looking for that same forgiveness from us. How can we not forgive the offenses when God continues to, forgive us?
Amen.
So that's what this book is about.
If Walls Could Talk, Part 2.
Yeah, I have 1, 2, and 3.
This is Walls Could Talk, Part 2. Reecie Gaddy.
Yes.
Right.
Please welcome Michelle Dewitt to talk about her book for a minute. Michelle Dewitt.
So the name of my book is called I've Been There. I named the book I've Been There because I talk in my book about the story, the street that I lived on. You can see on the front cover is literally the street that I lived on from a little girl. And I talk about the journey, just as everyone else has stated, of what I've gone through: molestation, rape, having breast cancer, dealing with breast cancer, dealing with several different types of things that have went on in my life in this story, and what happened and how I overcame each one of them. You're looking at a survivor of 20 plus years after having 8 surgeries of breast cancer. I tell the story in my book, and if you get this book, I'm telling you, you will not. It's good. Yeah, it's good for page 1. It's good.
Amen. Thank you very much, Michelle.
Thank you.
All right. And one more author is going to talk about his book, Mr. Brad Wilder. Please take a minute to talk about your book again. Come on. I know I've had you up here a bunch of times, it seems like. One more time.
It's a lemon worth the squeeze. All right. So you guys heard what I said earlier. And so I really want to take a minute and speak about the lemon worth the squeeze. Because I know there's some people right now in this situation that you're in that sour situation. And so I wrote this book after 4 years of contemplating. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I'm kind of a visual person, so I get a lot of ideas. My wife tells me it drives her head crazy. But I'm just so creative up here. So I wrote this book, and I was like, how can I express to people what to do in this situation where they don't know which way to turn? So this book talks about depression, anxiety. It talks about understanding where God has you at in this place of not understanding. And so how to move through it, and sometimes understanding, taking a step back and analyzing where you are. Because sometimes you can make a miscalculated step because you never fully understand what you have and what you are. And I like to say something called understanding personnel, understanding your benefits, understanding what you have. Not throwing away what you have because it don't look like where you want to be.
Amen.
So it's a living with the squeeze.
Thank you, sir. about ready to get back into our showcase again. This next brother, I've been a fan of his since 2016, 15 or 16. When I heard him give a talk, he was amongst a bunch of lawyers, and they were giving a talk about, what do you call it, when people have been getting themselves back together. They committed a crime a long time ago.
It was know your rights.
Know your rights, huh?
Rehabilitation.
Rehabilitation is another, but there's another word we use for that.
Reentry.
Reentry. It's going to come to me. But he was one of the speakers there, and that's where I first met him, and I was impressed with him. He's been a mentor to the men's groups that I've been a part of. He's been a friend. He's shown up, and I like him a lot, and I hope you will too. He's going to come to the platform now. His name is Mr. Kl Little. Help him welcome Kl Little to the platform. Kl Little.
So Brian gave me a lot of pressure right there. But I'm gonna tell y'all something. I'm gonna start from here. Can y'all hear me or do I need this?
No.
All right, outstanding. 25 years, 10 months, 22 days, United States Army, 10 years active duty, the other 15, 10 months. Was in the National Guard. So when I look at my life in this book, I often kind of reflect back on this book because that was my true healing. I was trained classically in social work. I was trained to work with young people in trauma, and I knew all the things about mental health. So when you think about anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress syndrome, that was me. So 2018 was after 2018 is when this book was in process. And during that time, I was transitioning and didn't understand that I overworked myself because I was running from anxiety, running from pain, running from trauma that impacted myself even before the military. So, grew up in a house with a single parent mom. And so, before I do anything, I'm gonna give respect to every woman in this room and read just a little bit off the first chapter in the book, which says, "The women warriors in my life." Somewhere in the world, there are young people who are influenced by those who nurture, support, educate, encourage, and provide the highest vibration in the universe. That vibration is the infamous word that we call love. When the human species operates on this vibration, it elevates everything that we know to exist. This precious gift is protected by the guardian of the earth, a person whom we know as the wise woman. When she operates in her power, children excel, people are elevated, and the community experiences a sense of peace and prosperity from the electricity her essence emanates. Her wisdom is legendary. She mesmerizes the masses with her mythical allure. To be blatantly clear, no words can communicate her impact. The levels of her complexity are only revealed to the attentive eye. Her depth has no beginning, and her potential is unlimited. She is the manifestation of beauty. And since each and every one of us comes through her for approval, those two columns is what introduces us to the world. And so as I went through this journey that I'm talking about, and y'all gotta hear me now, somebody got killed in my house when I was young. Wow. Before I went to college. Then I had to go to college and find something else in my life because I never knew my dad. So this book gave me an opportunity to heal because I was doing the healing work and I knew all of it, but still, there was no healing for me. So 2018, I embraced this year because it's right before the pandemic, right? And then we get to 2020, which is funny because that symbolizes perfect vision. And so one of the chapters in the book talks about the pandemic that changed the world. So I want y'all to think back. Remember how when everything was shut down and we couldn't get out the house, how did we feel? And that's where this thing that we call grief comes in at. This book won't talk about it. Wow. It's going to challenge you after each chapter to write down what was your intersection, right? And by intersection, I mean the intersection of opportunity and preparation, and that's where we execute. Because the only thing that we should fear is ourselves, right? Because that false evidence appearing real is really trying to hold us back from stepping in to our enlightenment and our empowerment, right? And so when we forgive others along that journey, because I forgave everybody, because my intentions were pure. And I knew from conversations that I had with the Creator that it was some things that was manifesting, that He was working something. I didn't know what it was. It didn't feel good. My blood pressure was going up. And guess what, y'all? I didn't say this, but in 2013, while in Iraq, I tore my ankle in 5 different places. They didn't know it was broke. I was going out with 2 different platoons every day. And when I came back, they told me what was going on. So literally, I supposed to wear this prosthetic that comes up to my knee with an orthotic on it, and it makes me limp. But it's a reminder of the fact that, like you said, and this is the only thing I will correct when you said, Sister Michelle, you are not just a survivor, you are thriving. We all thrive when we understand what we were intended to do, right? And so in this book, what it's going to talk about, what is your perception in regard of yourself? That's important because that's where we get to understand what our emotional self-awareness is, right? And when we understand emotional self-awareness, now we're able to regulate that emotion, right? And when we regulate our emotion, what we do is we demand control of the room. Wow. We help people elevate. Yes. We empower those who we are around. We transform and don't operate from a space of transactional activity. Remember what I said? You know, people will talk to you, how you doing? Oh, I'm doing well. Knowing you ain't doing well because they can see the tears coming down your eyes. Yes. But they won't extend that hand to you. Well, guess what? This book is going to challenge you to do the dark work. But the dark work is important because you can't have sunshine if there's no darkness to actually illuminate the dark.
Woo, come on now.
So I know I only got probably 30 seconds, but understand this. 2 words. You are whatever it is you want to believe. So use these 2 words. I am great. I am brilliant. And as I'm walking away, so I can stay honest to the time, I want you to remember this. When you see the letters NWO, what do you say? What's the word? NWO. It ain't no word, right? So that can be considered opposition. It can be considered a conflict. It can be something we don't know what it is. But if you switch the order of the word, it says if you O-W-N, just change the word. If you own NWO, then you're already W-O-N. That's
my man going down. He wouldn't even wait for me to ask him. That's all he did. He dropped the mic. I wanted to say another word or 2. Bye. I love him. Did y'all get a word from that?
Yes. Yes, most definitely.
Just yell it out from there. I'm asking you one question. Just yell it out.
Yes, sir.
Because we heard a few authors here today say when they decided to write a book, they didn't know how they were going to do it. You know, who helped you to get your book published?
That superhero over there with the blonde hair.
Same name. Reecie Santiago McNeill.
She got on me so much because I was writing. She said, Kelly, there's room for some more books. So she slowed me down.
That's right.
She put me on my path because I was hurting and I had a lot to pour out. And it was her who helped me get all of it out.
Amen. Thank you. Just yell it out from your seat. Michelle, Dewitt, who helped you to publish this book?
Lisa Sundiata McNeill.
You didn't want to write a book,
I did not want to do it.
but she said
I have to tell my story.
You have to tell
Somebody's
it.
waiting on me.
And she's right, isn't she?
Yes.
Dr. Debra Dunston, who helped you to publish your book?
Lisa Santiago McNeill. Not only helped me publish my book, but she actually pulled that book out of me. Story to tell.
Amen. Sister Reecie Gaddy, who helped you to publish your book?
Books.
Books
Lisa
with an S.
Santiago McNeill.
Brother Sundiata Sims, who helped you to publish your book?
I am not a parent, but y'all know the name.
Say it. Say it. Once for the camera. Say it.
Lisa Santiago.
Amen. Brother Brad Wilder, who helped you to publish this book?
I'm gonna put some respect on it. Say, Miss.
Miss Lisa Santiago McNeill, she's not going to speak right now. She's going to come back before you shortly. But I do want to just throw this in about her. Since 2016, May of 2016 till now, okay? 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. 6 years. Since May of 16 to now, Lisa has published more than 110 books.
Wow.
110 books that someone had an idea. Somebody had an idea about something, and she took them through the birthing process. So because of her being on this planet, 110 plus books were birthed. She birthed 4 of mine. Okay? I'm going to say this here. I apologize for leaving the lectern naked for a second, but it will only be for a second. Okay? I wrote books too. Okay? I want to tell you the first book I published was in June of 2016. I've been a sales trainer for 20-something years at that point, and I've been teaching people how to sell for more than 20 years, and I had so much stuff in my system that I wanted to get out, so much in my system that I wanted to get out that it was really hurting me. It was hurting me in my belly that I didn't have a book out yet, because I knew I should have had a book out. So this first book is called The Shortcut, the fastest route to selling your services better than you ever have before, so you can earn more money than ever before. By Brian K. McNeill. Woo! This first book, it's one of the joys of my life. My first book. I tell you, I went through the process of writing a book. I went through the process of publishing a book, and it got real when UPS rang the doorbell and left the box in front of the house with the prototype copy. Okay, it was a box. When I got to the door, opened the door, I saw the back of the UPS man. He was gone. He didn't came when he did what he came to do. He came to drop off the copy. Okay, not yet out in the public, just the copy. Okay, and I opened that box and I saw the book, the works of my writing, and it was like watching one of my children be born. That's what it meant to me. Okay, maybe some of the other authors here can relate. Okay, my second book is called Asking for the Money. How anyone can close more sales, even you. Okay, by Brian K. McNeill. And my third book was Why Rhinos Make Great Salespeople, featuring Mr. Randall the Rhino. This is a not just for children's book, running a parallel between rhinoceroses and great entrepreneurs or great salespeople. I've also written a workbook on how to sell, and I've been a part of 2 other book anthologies. So I'll tell you one thing that books do for authors. Books serve as a key. And there are some doors that only your book can open for you. I promise you, if you're thinking about writing a book, there are some arenas, there's some places, there's a chair up there, there's some arenas, there's some places that you can't even get entry into without a book. I had speaking opportunities where the promoters of the events knew me and they knew I could speak well, but Brian, we can't book you because you don't have a book. We can't hire you yet because you don't have a book. Man, you know I can speak. You know I'm the best at that topic. Until you got a book published, you're not the expert. You're not the subject matter expert. Okay? What's that mean? Hurry up, keep it moving, baby? Okay, I'm gonna keep it moving. Okay. All right, that's my wife telling me to keep it moving. And I always do everything my wife says do right away. Okay? We got one more speaker. Actually, I'm gonna bring the speaker up, and then I'm gonna bring up the visionary of this event. Okay. Huh?
2 more speakers.
Yes, we got 2 more speakers. Okay. The first speaker. That's right. You're right. This is what happens when I get a little bit of latitude. Y'all gonna have to help me welcome him up here. His name is Sundiata Sims. Please help me welcome Sundiata Sims. Yes. I'm here.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Move that up.
Sundiata Sims.
I'm not gonna do it before you long, try to make this very simple. First of all, I'm gonna give you a definition. It says manhood is the state or period of being a man rather than a child. Boys in the process of growing to manhood. Quality traditions associated with men, such as courage, strength, and sexual potency. What the hell does that mean? Did anybody define manhood in that moment? That was a definition. Listen, we as boys, as men, that's what we search for. That elusive manhood. Because it's not a simple definition, right? One time when I was on the radio, lady calls in, tells me, well, I taught my son how to be a man. I taught him how to open doors. I taught him to be creative. I stopped her, almost cussed her out. Excuse me, y'all. I said, you taught him to be a gentleman. But that ain't nothing to do with being a man. It's nice. It's courteous. Don't get me wrong. But manhood is something very different. All right? So why the book, you say? Because I am lucky. One of the luckiest people I've been here. And I admit, I grew up with my father. I grew up with both my grandfathers. I grew up with men. I grew up with coaches. I had men in my life that took time to mentor me. Wow, that's lucky. Since growing up, I've met so many young guys who had no clue. They didn't get to have the advantages I had. They didn't get to watch their father go to work every day. Watch their grandfather get up at 5, 6 in the morning and do his farm. They didn't get that lucky, but I did. So I felt, you know what, God, I owe something. I owe something to the world because of my love. But before you pay it back, he got to take you through a testing period. Let me tell you about one. December 5th, 2002, 1:30 in the afternoon. I'm at work. I get a call. It's my wife. She says to me, Sunday, I've been in an accident, and I can't find baby boy. Baby boy is my son. He was my junior. My wife was involved in an accident. She had black ice. My youngest child was thrown from the car. My baby boy was a year younger than her, was strapped into his car seat. That's where the truck hit the back of him. He died on impact. He was 2 years old. That day, I was thankful for my father, for my grandfather. I had to be a man that day. We were there. They took her to one hospital, and they said, hey, we got to take her to another hospital to look at her. We need to bring your wife in. But please don't tell her yet. Okay, we got to check her out first. Sometimes you got to man up. You got to hold it in. Because I'm responsibility not just for me. I'm responsibility for my children, for my wife, and everybody around me. So I had to man up that day. That day, I had to suck it up. I looked at my wife, and you know what I told her? I said, everything's going to be all right. I just need you to get checked out. I got this. I got this. I'm dying on the inside. I wanted to cry, but I couldn't. I had to man up for a minute. I had to make sure she was okay, they were okay, and I had to walk through the fire. they taught me those lessons. What this book wants, I want to help a young man who didn't have a father, a grandfather, a mentor. I want him to pick up the book and say, you know what? I don't know what it is, but I'm going to find it somehow. Manhood, I got to find this thing that they keep talking about. I watch my mama, I watch this person, but they're not showing me. Somebody got to give me a roadmap to get there. That's what it is. It's a roadmap to manhood. That's all it is, a layout. Because I can't tell you what it is, but I can tell you how to get there.
Woo, come on now.
That's what I want for every young man.
Yes.
To find his role. Because let me tell you something. There's not one definition. My definition, I'll tell you, is real simple. It's taking care of not only me, but all those that are around. That's everybody in here. That's these people. That's you. My society, my community. But might not be the same way for another young man. Okay? But when you see the qualities, you know them right away, right? But you can't just put your finger on it. Manhood is so many things, but there again, all I want to do, I'm not going to tell you what it is, but I want to help you get there. That's it. Thank you. Get up in month today.
Okay.
I don't get no questions.
All right,
So you don't throw me away. No, wait a minute, hold on. Before I say, I'll pick with him because we've been knowing each other
about 12 years.
something like that.
Yeah.
And so I pick with him. This is truly my brother.
He is my brother too, and I pick at him all the time. Okay, so yeah, I do want to talk about. So I do have a question.
Okay.
And, because that book is important. My wife published that book, and she was telling me as she was going through the process of publishing your book, Brian, Sundiata's book is good. It's really good, you know. So you kind of gave a hint about why you wrote it, but talk a little bit more about what you want that book to do.
Like I said, it's real simple. I don't want to tell you. I just want to give you a roadmap. Because I'm listening to the beautiful speakers, ladies.
Yes, they've been amazing.
Nigga ain't nothing little about you, brother. You know, everything you got big. All right. My brother,
Brad.
bro. I got a daughter. If you weren't married, I was going to say.
Stop it.
No, I respect that. I'm just
I
saying.
keep it going. So go ahead and say what you got to say, please.
But what I just hope is real simple. I hope that someone picks up the book. It's not very long because I'm short-tempered like most guys. But again, just give them a little roadmap to find mentorship. Really, that's what it is.
Amen.
Finding mentors in your life to help you get there because we cannot get there by ourselves.
Amen. Thank you very much. There you go.
All right, thank you.
Sundiata Sims, everyone. That was amazing. Okay. All right, cool. All right, we got one more speaker to go, and she's not the last speaker, okay, but she's an important speaker.
Yeah.
She's the last one on the schedule, okay, but I want to consider her last anything. I met her in 2017, I believe, okay, at an event that she was hosting up in Northern Virginia, the DMV area. And Lisa, my wife, and I had an opportunity to be one of her speakers on her platform, and she became a fast friend of ours there. She's still one of our friends, our really closest friends. All the cool stuff we do, we include her in because she's smart, because she's loving, because she's friendly, because she helps out everywhere. She's another one of the people in my world that everyone wants to talk to. Everyone wants to be Dr. Debra's friend, and you're going to discover why right now. Dr. Debra Dunston.
Hello, everyone, once again. I just want to calm down a little bit and just tell your story. It's not a pretty story. In fact, it's a downright kind of ugly story. But it's a story that's happening nonetheless all around the world, in homes all around the world. This is the story of a little girl who, in the summer of her 8th birthday, something happened to us at the hands of someone her parents truly loved and trusted that actually changed the trajectory of her life. This little girl's innocence was snatched away from her. You see, this little girl, she was molested. And for 5 long years, this little girl suffered in the silence of her secret. And let me tell you, a secret, that's a hard thing for a child to bear. In fact, for anybody to bear. Until one day, this little girl got up enough courage that in order to save her little sister, this little girl ran and told her father her secret. But you know, before that, I was the one that this little girl told her secrets to. I was the one who held her close when she felt alone and cried. I was the one who wiped away her silent tears. And I was even the one who covered her mouth when all she really wanted to do was just scream. But you see, I know this little girl's story up close and personal. Because that little girl, she was me. Now, I'd like to stand here and tell you that after I told my daddy my secret, that my life went back to what people so-call normal. But if I did, I'd be lying to you and to me. You see, because it was at this time during my teen years that my life started to spin out of control. That inside I was broken, but outside I am wearing a mask. I even went on and I went to a private college, a private spiritual college, and I joined seminary, and all the time broken inside. I even became a preacher, and I thought that could do it, you know. I thought that could do it. I can even remember being a little girl, you know, walking around singing, Jesus lost the little children. Oh, that's the song. But inside, you know what? I was wondering, why didn't Jesus love me? Somebody said if you call on his name, he would come. But I can remember saying, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. But nobody came. So what's wrong with me? Why me? Have you ever been in that position where something happened to you and you found yourself wondering, why me? But we wear a mask, especially in the church. You know, we walk around saying, somebody say, how you doing? And you say, oh, I'm blessed and highly favored. Five baptized and Holy Ghost feel I am. All the time we toe up from the floor up. But you know what? I got tired of being sick and tired. And I decided to do something about it. And I went and got me some help. I reached out to someone. I told my story. And I began my process. And so now today I stand here before you as the founder of Healing Life Fellowship, the author of 2 books on healing. And I am now carrying a mission like that of Harriet Tubman.
Yes.
You see, once I made my way to freedom, I got to go back. I got to go back and find those people who are stuck in the bondage of their limiting beliefs, their toxic emotions, and all those strongholds that keep them in bondage. I got to go back and show them the way. I like to tell people that healing, that's a process. But freedom, now that's a journey. But if you're sitting here today and you went through anything, I'd like to tell you that you can get on that road to get free and stay free and live the life that you were created to live. Namaste and be blessed.
Was it a blessing?
Yeah.
She spoke for exactly 5 minutes, y'all. Stop. Getting free and staying free from toxic anger, fear, shame, and unforgiveness. A story of healing, a journey to freedom by Dr. Debra R. Dunston. Thank you very much, Dr. Debra. Okay.
Not too happy.
Every single person in this room right now, every person watching this broadcast, every person that set up anything in this room, every person that has a book, every person that's participated in any way, got to this moment because one person had a thought, and her name is Lisa Santiago McNeill. Lisa Santiago McNeill, back in 2017, or I believe it was when we did our first author showcase, she said, Brian, we got all of these friends of ours that have written books that they never get to talk about. Why don't we do an author showcase where we can just feature some of our friends that have written books and give them a chance to speak about it? What a great idea. So we did the first one at a restaurant, in a meeting room at a restaurant. And on the first author showcase we did, it filled up the meeting room kind of quick. So then some of the men that was around the front, they ran out into the restaurant and grabbed some chairs. And they set up the chairs on the front so other people could get in. And then more people showed up, so they went and got more chairs. And by the time the showcase was done, the author was like here, the chairs were right here around them. So that was a good idea. So a few months went by, we decided to do another one. And we did another author showcase. We couldn't do it in a restaurant anymore. We did it at a theater, a small theater. And that was wonderful. We did it at the theater. The next time we did it at the same theater, the air conditioner wasn't working. So they put us down in the art gallery, and that was too small for what we were doing. So we've done them in theaters. We've done these showcases in churches, author showcase. We featured different things. We did one called the Love Edition. All the books had something to do with love, either stories or poetry. We did one, the Children's Authors Edition. All the books were children's books. We did one, the Ex-Cons Edition. Every book was written by someone who had served time, and all of them meant something, okay? But today's author showcase has been special. It happened because Lisa Santiago McNeill had a thought and she had a vision. Please help me bring to the platform the visionary of this event, Lisa Santiago. Come, baby. Mention she's also the most beautiful woman I ever met. I say that because she's my wife. That's right. Go ahead, baby.
Give yourselves another hand. Standing up in your truth, telling your story is one of the most important and powerful things that you can do for yourself. When I started the empowerment publishing and multimedia, it was because I had a story to tell. I wanted to tell my truth. I wanted to get my message out there. I didn't want to have to keep telling it over and over again. I wanted you to be able to get it. I want you to know the truth. This is exactly what happened. This is why it happened. And this is what I'm doing instead of it. And many people were inspired by that from me. And I was grateful. I was grateful that they were inspired. They bought a few books. I actually made bestseller list with my book. But what came out of it were a lot of people who were asking me, how do I tell my story? How do I publish my book? And so what does a clue look like, right? So you thought you were an author. You thought you were an orange. You thought you were writing a book. But your book was merely the seed for the orchard that God planned for you to plant. Now, when I went on the journey with Empowerment Publishing Multimedia, what I didn't want to do, because I read every book,
I read every book, and I don't just read it. Honestly, I critique it. And if you ain't finished with your healing, if you ain't finished with your forgiveness, you ain't ready to publish your book. Because your book ain't gonna do nothing but hurt somebody, and that somebody might be you. So it's a process. And that's why empowerment publishing became the decision. I will only publish stories of overcoming in the form of self-help, personal development, or children's books. Because children's books often nestle the message in them that we just don't know how to communicate in the so-called grown-up language. We need a little magic to get the point across. But what I won't do is any of the dark, any of the evil, any of the Stephen King, he can have it all by himself, right? That's not my journey. Now, as I began this process, I have to almost call this a rebirthing process right now, today, because I went through another trial in my life. And that trial, I thought, was really gonna be the end of me. Quite honestly, it was supposed to be the end of me. Not because of what God said, but because the enemy thought he was gonna make it the end of me. I came down with COVID, and then I got a pulmonary embolism as a result of the sickness. When I went to the hospital with the pulmonary embolism, they rushed me through. They tried to figure out what was wrong. They didn't understand because I was hurting. I had pain. I had so much pain in my chest and my back. I thought I was gonna die. The thing is, I was so lucky that I had that pain. Because pain don't usually come with a pulmonary embolism. They don't usually find a pulmonary embolism except in autopsy.
Yes, yes.
So the stuff that I had already gone through, that's in that first book, Discovering Your Why, that I thought I had overcome, that had took me out, that had brought me down, but I had come through, and I thought I was living God's purpose for me, only to find out there's more, because as a result of that sickness, now my words are slower. Y'all can't tell it, but I can tell it. My words are slower. My thoughts are not clicking the way that they used to. And I just don't feel like myself. But I watched the video today. In the video, there was a little girl who was running a race. And at the beginning of that race, her shoe came off. Now I thought at the beginning of my race, my shoe had already come off. I thought that I had already dealt with the fact that my shoe came off because I was molested, I was left, I was overlooked, I was everything. By the time I was 12, I had to run away from home to find my sanity at 13. But I thought that was going to be the beginning of my greatness. Now I'm on my way. I am now the publisher of over 100 authors, not just publishing their story, but birthing the process through them. But that young girl who lost her shoe, got back up, put it on, ran that race, and even though she was behind, she pulled up the slack and she beat everybody.
All right, all right.
Now I'm wondering, as I'm healing, is that going to be my part too? Why? Why do I have to have another shoe come off? Because I done already lost one shoe.
Yes.
Now I got another shoe come off. But God said, I don't just want you to have a good story. I don't just want you to have an all right story. I want your story to inspire the person who did not think that they could possibly do it with the deck that they had stacked against them. I want you to be barefoot running that race and win it because you can. And each one of my authors, I know that there is so much in you that was meant for someone else. And that's the thing. It's not about you.
Yes.
It ain't
Come on
never
now.
been about you.
Come on now. Say it.
It is about someone that is
Yes.
crying, begging,
Yes.
pleading, and ready to give up. But they need to see you running to the finish line, barefoot, knees scratching, and make it with your hands raised because you made it through the finish line.
Yes. Come on. Come on.
And I know that it may be scary, and I know the biggest critic could be yourself, but I also know that somebody is suffering until we tell our truth. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful that all of you came out today. I'm grateful for those that are watching at home. I'm grateful for part 2 of Empowerment Publishing and Multimedia. I am grateful for standing in front of you, and I am so grateful that you all came, and I am grateful to God that He chose me for such a time as this.
Give Lisa a hand. We about wrapped up. We got one more thing left to do. And it's going to require somebody that's not an author to be courageous right now. Okay? For someone that's not an author, that's been here, that's seen everything that went on, do you feel courageous enough to come forward and tell what today has been about from your perspective? What happened here today? What did you see? You want to do it, sister? Come on. Come on, give her a hand, please. I ain't even finished describing it. She raised her hand.
They got me inspired.
Okay. Come on, camera, and say, come here, come stand next to me, please. Okay, how you doing? I want you to say your name again, okay?
My name is Michelle Dow.
Michelle Dow? Okay, and you've been here the whole time. What have you seen today? What has today been about for you?
Man, just inspiration from everybody. I thought I was just coming to support my best friend of over 30 years, and I'm sitting over there like, Lord, so many things are going through my mind. I just want to tell everybody, thank you. I am so inspired. I feel like I've been to church. Man, this is my 5th service. I just want to say thank you. Even the details of the sister back here, when her husband came back here, I just looked at the way she just held him and congratulated him. I'm very observant. I love what's going on. And Lisa's one of my favorites too. God bless you, Brian.
Thank you,
God bless
thank you.
Thank
Was
you.
that not good?
Yes.
This concludes our program today. Do you want to say anything else?
I want you to make sure that you make your way over to the authors. Hope that you buy their books. I want you to buy the t-shirts, buy books, shake their hands, hug
the
them,
authors,
let
take
them
pictures
know,
with
take
the
lots of
authors,
pictures,
and post them.
#EPMM, if you put them on wherever, EPMM, #EPMM, so I can find them. And thank you again.
Thank you. Give yourselves a round of applause. That concludes our program for today. Woo. What's up, girl? How you doing? What's up, bro? Thanks for coming. Jonathan.